Candice Bergen hits back hard to defend the rights of all Canadians that want to be heard. She asks only for the Liberals to stand with Canadians to understand and listen to their concerns, and not to discriminate against them or condemn them with hateful words. Here's the clip.
All Canadians want to see a leader who will work to heal rifts, not further divide.
You know what? If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's your choice. But don't think you can get on a plane or a train besides vaccinated people and put them at risk.
A leader who will listen, even to those voices he might not agree with.
I have attended protests and rallies in the past when I agreed with the goals, when I supported the people expressing their concerns and their issues. Black Lives Matter is an excellent example of that. But I have also chosen to not go anywhere near protests that have expressed hateful rhetoric, violence towards fellow citizens, and a disrespect not just of science, but of the frontline health workers and, quite frankly, the 90% of truckers who have been doing the right thing to keep Canadians safe, to put food on our tables.
Who will work to understand, not dismiss, name call, and gaslight. Contrary to some, there are thousands of passionate, patriotic, and peaceful Canadians on the Hill right now who just want to be heard.
There is no place in our country for threats, violence, or hatred. So to those responsible for this behavior, it needs to stop.
Will the Prime Minister extend an olive branch, and will he listen?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, I think we all support free speech in this House, but there's a big difference between free speech and inciting hatred, inciting violence, desecrating war memorials, Mr. Speaker. And I would hope my honourable colleague would denounce that in the clearest terms, Mr. Speaker. Those radical leaders are not really interested in free speech because they want to pretend as though vaccines don't work. On this side of the House, we know vaccines work. That's the gateway to freedom, and this government will do everything that we can to get there. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Portage-Lisker.
Of course, we all condemn hateful and destructive acts by a few at any protest. Whether it's beheading the statue of Queen Victoria in Manitoba, tearing down the statue of Sir John A. in Montreal, or putting flags on Terry Fox, whether it's burning churches, whether it's wearing blackface, whether it's Hezbollah flags or Nazi flags, we all condemn it. But I'm not talking about that, Mr. Speaker.
You might want to stay down. You might want to stay down.
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let's be abundantly clear that those individuals who've called for the incitement of violence to overthrow this government, who have caused significant disruption by flagrantly ignoring public health care measures that have forced shops and businesses to close, that have desecrated war memorials, are not interested in free speech, they're not interested in discourse, and they're certainly not interested in advancing our way out of this pandemic, Mr. Speaker. This government will always listen to those who want to have a robust debate about public health care measures, but we have to draw a bright line between those who are interested in that debate and those who are not.
For Portage-Lisker.
Well, that minister is not telling the truth, and it's shameful to see what he is doing. Accusing Canadians of being...
Order. 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 I think both sides are very truthful in saying what they say. Whether they agree with it or not is something that is another story. But calling someone who's basically calling them a name or accusing them of something is not permitted in the House. I'll let the Honourable Member for Portage-Lister start from the top, and I'm sure she'll ask the question correctly.
Mr. Speaker, and I apologize that minister is misleading Canadians. I do get very defensive of Canadians who are outside today, patriotic, peace-loving Canadians who are called misogynists and racist by the Prime Minister.
Hésiter un petit peu, on va continuer d'essayer de les convaincre, mais il y a aussi des gens qui sont farouchement opposés à la vaccination.
Qui sont extrémistes.
Qui croient pas dans la science, qui sont souvent misogynes, souvent racistes aussi. C'est un petit groupe, mais qui prend de la place. Et là, il faut faire un choix en tant que leader, en tant que pays. Est-ce qu'on tolère ces gens-là ou est-ce qu'on dit, ben, voyons, la plupart des gens, presque 80% des Québécois ont fait ce qu'il fallait faire, se sont fait vacciner, on veut revenir aux choses qu'on aime faire. C'est pas ces gens-là qui vont nous bloquer maintenant.
So again, I will ask the Prime Minister, who may I remind this House wore blackface on more times than he can remember, apologize to the peace-loving, patriotic Canadians who are outside right now just asking to be heard. Will he speak to them?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a moment where we have to acknowledge that the protests that have occurred have made their point. And I would ask the member opposite to encourage the people that are outside to continue in a way that is peaceful, that moves beyond what we have seen. Ottawa is being paralyzed right now. We're seeing imagery that's not appropriate.
I'm going to ask the Honourable Minister to hold on for a second. Because I'm sure the Honourable Member for Portage-Lisker wants to hear an answer to the question she asked. I'll let the Honourable Minister continue from where he left off.
Just say this, Mr. Speaker. I was in opposition. I was in opposition for about 7 years, and there were times where I was overheated in my rhetoric. There were moments where I got too carried away with what I believed passionately at the time. There is a moment where we need to de-escalate. There's a moment where we need to bring it down, and I'm asking the members opposite, instead of going outside with these protests, to
do not stand for or with intolerance and hate.